The following program is brought to you by Podcast One Sportsnet. Don't forget to download our new Podcast One app.
Geico presents eyewitness interviews with inanimate objects.
This is Belinda Collins, live on the scene of a recent hailstorm. Here to describe the event, a football.
Bro, I was just hanging on the roof when this gnarly storm starts dropping baseball-sized hail. I mean, the shingles got beat up. A few windows looked broken. It was savage.
Did you do anything to help?
Nah, bro. I was in survival mode.
Your football can't help you in a hailstorm, but the Geico Insurance Agency can help you get covered for personal property damage. Call Geico to see how affordable homeowners insurance can be.
We are now reaching the midway point in the NFL and college football season, and each game becomes that much more important. On top of that, the NBA and NHL seasons have just begun as teams are striving for early dominance. There's one place to get in on all the action. That's betonline.ag. Use the promo code PODCAST1 and receive a 50% sign-up bonus when signing in today. BetOnline.ag, your online sportsbook experts and the exclusive partner of Podcast One Sportsnet.
He's defeated every champion from every organization the sport of mixed martial arts has ever seen and retired from the octagon as the biggest draw and the industry's highest paid athlete of all time. And now Chael Sonnen's on PodcastOne.com. And for that, you're welcome.
What's happening, guys? Happy Friday, and welcome to another special episode of Your Welcome, which I guess needs to be an I'm sorry right out of the gate. You know, guys, I have never got more feedback in the history of this show than I have from the interview I just had on Wednesday with Coach Dan Gable. And all of you said the same thing. First off, that you enjoyed the interview, but second off, why wasn't it longer? Coach Neil Melanson even reached out to me and said that. Why was that not longer? Guys, I don't have an answer for you. I guess I didn't know you were going to enjoy Coach Dan Gable so much, and we will get him back on, and that is the best that I can do for you. So thank you for listening. Thank you for the feedback, and I'm sorry that I didn't keep him on more. So we will go back to that, but I will tell you, aside from the apology, I'm also going to take some credit. So I had talked about Floyd Mayweather, and when we talked last, which was Wednesday, as of then, Floyd Mayweather, and we recorded the show very early in the morning, but Floyd Mayweather was scheduled to be fighting on the New Year's Eve show in Ryzen. The large consensus from you guys is you smelled a skunk at the garden party. I was on the other side of it and said, no, I don't think so. And the reason I did not think so is because of the black eye that it would give to Floyd's brand to have to tuck and run after a fight announcement, and that is not in line with the history of Floyd Mayweather. He does a number of things for publicity. Good for him. He's in that business. No fault. But he's never announced a fight before that he wasn't going to do. Also, if you follow Floyd's career, and I do, one of the things that I've always appreciated from a fan, I'm talking about the fan perspective in me, is when Floyd announces a fight, there's no long lead in and run up. He does everything very quickly. Just to put that in perspective, if you guys will remember when he fought Manny Pacquiao, even though that turned in to a fight that left a little bit to be desired, the build-up and the anticipation for that fight was about 5 years. And when he finally announced that he was going to box Manny Pacquiao, they were in the ring throwing punches at each other 5.5 weeks later. So Floyd follows a little bit of a different formula and a little bit of a different recipe that I, for one, like when I hear those mega fights and I hear that they're finally going to happen. It is so nice when you don't have to wait all that long. So all of those things were in line with Floyd going to Ryzen. I'm also a little bit more aware of Floyd's circumstances and situations than some, because I'm in the fight game. I understand the embellishment of his pay-per-view numbers, and I understand the embellishment of his net worth. But the one thing about Floyd's income is the outcome. While the embellishment of how much he makes, and it gets gobbled up and reported by the media, it is very true how much he spends. I have told you guys from day one he is not retired. He does not have the choice to retire. Floyd will have to fight again. And after he does that fight, he will have to fight again after that. He will be like every other fighter whose story does not end well because they spend it like they're always going to make it. Talking about money over here is never something comfortable, but when the guy is a prize fighter whose nickname is Money, it becomes a little bit more relevant and a little bit more fair game. By me, it becomes very fair game for me to point out that he is going to fight for money, however much he can get. And while he will continue to make you guys believe that that's $100+ million, He will still get very good paydays, but that will go backwards and backwards and backwards like everybody else. Like absolutely everybody else. But one of the reasons that I initially was a little bullish that this was going to happen is I know his worth in North America, and I know how much it has greatly diminished. And I knew that going over to Japan, and if any point in that was not going to be great. That was going to be a big sign right there. When you're selling out T-Mobile Arena, and all of a sudden you're fighting at 3 a.m. for your North American fans, where nobody's going to watch, and you're counting on an entirely different market to carry you. It's going to, listen, call a guy Captain Obvious. You don't have to put on your Columbo rain jacket to figure out that's because things aren't great, but that's the trajectory of a career. I've seen it a million times. Floyd will not be any different from anybody else. But when I was to juxtapose that against what would happen if that did not come to fruition, what would be the upside to dipping your toe on that side of the pond and in that market and arena and then turning away and refusing to do it? That would be very bad. Listen, it hurt the Floyd Money Mayweather brand that he was going to go and do the fight in Rizin, and where there could have been some level of excitement and some level of circus show and attraction to it. And there was, for sure there was. Not enough to pencil and not enough to make sense for a brand in Floyd Mayweather. It was going to be bad either way. It was going to be terrible if the fight did not happen. That was my detective work, and that is why I believe that it was going to happen. Floyd must watch this, and I realize the power and worth of this show, and I am very grateful for it, but you guys are included in that, okay? We have a lot of opinions and a lot of ideas, and we have a message that gets out and gets heard by the masses within this space. But as soon as we talked about it, Floyd then came out and said, okay, listen, the deal's off. As a matter of fact, the deal was never on, and I never agreed to fight the guy. That is as good of a cover-up job if you can do, save one problem. Floyd was on camera in the press release. It wasn't just in print, lost in translation between the Japanese language and the American language. He was on camera agreeing to fight the guy in Rizin on New Year's Eve. So to try to unfry that egg and say there was a miscommunication and I never agreed to the fight is not good. It's very bad for Floyd. And once you say, I will do it for $1, it's very hard to come back to the table and say, I won't do it unless I get $10. It's a very hard thing to do. For Floyd to have agreed to fight in Rizin, whose numbers and model of pay-per-view, of digital, of live gate, of television is vastly different than any other form of competition that he has done before. For him to say that he would do that, you're now understanding a guy that used to make $10 is now going to make $1. For him to go over there and agree to it means he tested the waters and the pool of the old business model that he knew here in North America, and it was no longer there. The market just wasn't there. He's in a very tough spot right now, and he's made it very clear that he's fighting for money and that he's willing to fight for very little money. That's just a tough spot. This is the reality of what happened with Floyd, okay? I think that Floyd, in many ways, is in an unfair position. Look, a piece of the formula, and you will see this a number of times when you want to talk about formulas in fighting, but you will see a number of times where a guy wants to have what's known as a comeback fight. But the only way to have a comeback is to retire first. Okay, great. And that story's been done, and that script has been written, and that song has been played a number of times successfully. But all of the successful ones have one component, and this is what some guys miss. And this is what Chuck Liddell missed, in fairness, to his comeback fight going on with Tito, or possibly that fight just happened, Chuck and Tito. And now Mayweather's being a victim of it as well, which is when you retire, if you want to have the big comeback fight, you must retire at a time when the media and the audience and the fans and the supporters and your base and your market are saying, no, my good, what are you doing? Why are you retiring? You're so good. You're so skilled. You have so much left. You have so much more to offer. You can still beat everybody. So when Floyd retired after the Conor fight, and I think this was unfair. I think this was unfair that this happened to Floyd. But the boxing world said, yes, you should retire. You have nothing left to offer us. Your better days are well behind you. We have come to that conclusion because you're the greatest fighter of a generation. You're the greatest fighter of an entire era. You're an undefeated multiple-time world champion, and you just went a half hour with an amateur. who should not have been in there with you, who's never put on 16-ounce gloves and stepped in the ropes before, who was not even licensed to do this, whose sanctioning of this bout called into question the integrity of an entire commission who made it very clear that they were not about fighter safety, they were about revenue. In hindsight, everything worked out. I'm just telling you, leading into this fight, that's what this was about. That's how hard this was. That's what a tough sell it was to get Floyd and Conor together. It was that ridiculous. The greatest to have ever done it is taken on a guy who had never done it. Guys, we are almost at the midway point in the NFL and college football season, and each game becomes that much more important. If that's not enough tension for you, the NBA and NHL seasons have just begun as teams are striving for early dominance. The Bucks, Raptors, and the defending champion Warriors all starting off on a very high note. And the NHL, the Predators, Maple Leafs, and Penguins are just ahead of the pack. On top of all of that, I have been participating in the Podcast One Sportsnet Challenge. Took a bit of a tumble this week, and now, because of people like Brian Bishop and Adam Carolla, they moved ahead of me, and I've slid down a little bit. Well, Brian better enjoy his stay ahead of old Chael, because I'm roaring back this week with wins from the Patriots versus the Titans, Chiefs versus Cardinals, and Bears versus Lions. BetOnline.ag is an exclusive partner of Podcast One Sportsnet, and they are our go-to guys for online betting. Get in on the action this year. Head on over to BetOnline.ag. Take advantage of the best bonuses in the business. When you're there, use the promo code PODCAST1. That's PODCAST-ONE to receive a 50% sign-up bonus today. One more time. That's betonline.ag. Use the promo code PODCAST1 to start winning with your online sportsbook experts. Instead of the story being told correctly, which was, wow, great job, Conor. You possessed a skill set that we did not know you have. That's how the story should have been told. Unfortunately, it just wasn't. Unfortunately, and Floyd retired immediately. That very night, he went in the back, he showered up, he grabbed his check, he changed his clothes, he put on his sunglasses, and he cut interviews saying, I am done, I am retired, and I will, quote, no young fighter, call me out, you're not going to get it, I am truly done. Those are the quote, unquote, of Floyd Mayweather. When he did that, not having any time or ability to digest what had just happened, with the understanding that perception is reality, so the perception of what happened is going to become the reality of what happened, fair or unfair. It was at a time when the response to the boxing world, to the media, even to the naysayers of MMA that wanted to see Conor get beat up in less than 3 minutes, the response to justify and explain how the greatest ever just had a hard night and needed over a half an hour to get rid of a bum who had never been in there. The answer to that, instead of giving Floyd the credit he deserved, which is he went from plan A to plan B to plan C, he adjusted, he dealt with diversity. He lost a lot of minutes, a lot of combinations, a lot of rounds. Had Conor take his biggest shots, had to then take Conor's biggest shots back. It was a really hard night. Floyd deserved a lot of credit. But instead of getting any of that, the answer that the boxing enthusiasts had was, well, yeah, Floyd's done. Floyd's an old man. Floyd shouldn't have even been in there tonight. He came off his couch, went in there. And yeah, he had a little bit of a hard time, but that's the only reason he had a hard time. The only reason he had a hard time is because this is an old Floyd Mayweather. I mean, he just listened to Floyd. Floyd just said he's going to retire. Floyd knew he was going to retire going into this. As a matter of fact, he basically was retired. They used that narrative as a way of explaining to themselves that the sweet science that they believed was a lifetime of work was just put to the test by an amateur who should not have even been licensed to be in there and was tested for over 10 rounds. In 10 rounds. You get the point. I think that was unfair to do to Floyd. But perception is reality, and that was the perception. And it was a lot easier to come to that and use a scapegoat in Floyd Mayweather in conjunction with his retirement than a reality of, hey, listen, if you get a big, tough young guy in there with you that knows how to use his hands and isn't afraid to push hard and deep and make things ugly and go into a street fight, you can give the greatest boxer of all time some real problems. What should have been a compliment to Conor wasn't. I don't suggest for you guys that was fair. What I do is accurately lay this out. I've never seen a sporting event in my entire life, my entire existence, where the reality of what we saw has been more rewritten by the media, but reaccepted by the viewer. I've never seen it. And I think that Floyd is a victim of it. But to explain to you guys how detrimental to Floyd's future career this mistake was, that he would go to Japan, hold a press conference, announce a fight, allow money to be spent. There's videos out there of this. There's highlight reels. They're advertising, they're promoting this. To yank the card, the fact that he went over there in the first place means he doesn't have a seat in the table in America right now. That is 100% what it means. HBO has announced they're out of the boxing business. Floyd's contract was with Showtime in conjunction with T-Mobile Arena. He fought his last fight on Showtime and his last fight at T-Mobile Arena. There has been speculation saying Showtime soon is going to get out of the boxing business. I don't know that to be true. I just know there's a lot of places to box right now. I know Fox has a big presence. I know ESPN has a big presence. I know DAZN has a big presence in boxing right now. So opportunities for boxers certainly do exist. But it wouldn't matter even if you were the big name and the great resume of Floyd Mayweather. If you had a contract and you were boxing on Showtime, and Showtime, if the rumors is true, is looking to get out of boxing, then you're going to need a new home. It would seem as though that wouldn't be the hardest thing for Floyd to go and get. But the fact that Floyd popped up in Japan ready to do a special rules match. I mean, in Floyd's own words, he goes, I never agreed to a match. It was supposed to be an exhibition. I give a goddamn what you want to call it, Floyd. Okay, you want to call it a sparring session. You agreed to do it. You said you were going to do it. And the fact that you were going to do it against in a mixed fight situation, special rules as they had called it, whatever those change in the rules were going to be to add to the spectacle of it, whether you want to call it an exhibition, a sparring session, or a live competition, it doesn't matter. The fact that you had to go to Japan and outside of your comfort zone and do it in this kind of a format is not great for the brand. Making it worse is then refusing to do it after you agreed to do it, and making that a triple down worse is coming out and denying on camera that you ever said you would do it when we all found out you were going to do it by you going on camera and saying you were. This is a very, very bad and bumbled situation. I do not expect a lot from Floyd Mayweather. Why, a brilliant boxer, that is where the brilliant term goes out when discussing Floyd. There's not a lot of other things you could compliment for his intelligence. But somebody thought this was a good idea. Somebody in the PR department or the marketing department, somebody that Floyd listens to, thought this was a good idea. And it was a terrible idea from the jump, even had it gone through. Even had it gone through. And when I spoke to you guys about this on Wednesday, very quickly, Floyd was singing a different tune. And I have to take credit for that. I had a perspective, and I had an insight in this that was offered by no other form of media. Absolutely nobody except yours truly, and you guys as well, us. We discussed it here. And within a matter of hours, Floyd came out singing a completely different tune. All, if he could just rewind the tape a week and not have done this, it would have been great. Because if you were to rewind the tape 5 weeks ago, Floyd had also announced that in December of this year, he would be boxing Manny Pacquiao, a fight that Manny had no idea about, quickly said, yeah, okay, good, that sounds great. But they had no venue, no tickets, no licenses, no agreement, no distribution in place to do it. One of the bigger embarrassments that Floyd has ever dealt with, whether he knows this or not, but was through the creation and the made-up entity known as the Money Team, which is Floyd Mayweather's boxing promotion, which simply does not exist. I could tell you guys that until I was blue in the face. I have begged for some of you to believe me when I tell you there is no such thing as the Money Team. There is no office, there is no capital, there is no distribution partners, there is no poster department. There is no promotional company known as the Money Team. And Floyd Mayweather can go into Nevada and he can get licenses, all that he wants. But when he can't put on his own show, when he's standing by a guy named Manny Pacquiao, where there is a level of business, it's much smaller than he will lead you to believe, but there is a level of business. When he could not get that done, and he owns allegedly a promotion company that should have let you guys see, oh my gosh, this is smoke and mirrors. When he then takes an agreement in Japan with a company called Ryzen that does not put on Western boxing, accepts that for less than 72 hours and runs that one back, that should make it crystal clear for you young boxers. Do not sign with something called the Money Team. They aren't real. That is not a real team. That is not Bellator. That is not One Championship. That is not UFC, WME, ING. That is not a real platform. That is not a real place to go. They do not have capital. They do not sign the front of paychecks. It is a gimmick that if you sign with, you will be signing the front of paychecks. The guys at the Money Team sign the back of paychecks. They don't take risks. They don't have plans. They listen to this show, which is smart. I appreciate that they do that. And I'm giving them a little bit of tough love right now. But the gig is up, and the money team does not exist.
You're listening to You're Welcome with Chael Sonnen.
Alexa isn't the only one with breaking news. Make sure to hang around at the end of this podcast for the latest breaking headlines on the AP News Minute.
Hey, it's Adam Carolla.
Hey, this is Kelty Knight from Lady Gang.
Hey, it's Steve Austin from the Steve Austin Show.
This is Heather Dubrow from Heather Dubrow's World.
Hey, this is Rob Riggle.
And Sarah Tiana from Riggle's Picks.
This is Caitlin Bristow from Off the Vine on Podcast One.
This Veterans Day, I'd like to give a special thanks to all those who've served in the armed forces.
From the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, and the Reserves.
Because of your bravery, we can live without fear.
Because of your valor, we can soar into the bright future.
Because of your sacrifice, we don't have to sacrifice the liberties that we hold so dear.
We could not do it without you.
Thank you again for your service, and all of us at Podcast One hope you enjoy a safe holiday weekend.
If you're looking for the absolute best gear when it comes to competing, training, and recovery, Under Armour has created the best performing gear to make you better with new collections such as Vanish. I want to tell you guys about it because it's engineered to be more breathable, so you feel lighter and less distracted. It's lightweight, quick-drying material, won't cling or chafe, and stretches without absorbing sweat. And right now, Under Armour also offers the best fitness apps to help you track and learn how to put that gear to the test. I want you guys to try Under Armour's MyFitnessPal so you can take track of your diet using the fastest, easiest to use calorie counter app where it lets you set your calorie and nutrition standards. And if you sign up for the premium level, you'll unlock even more coaching and guidance to keep your diet on track. Download Under Armour's MyFitnessPal in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store to get a free 30-day trial of the premium level for new users and take control of your goals today.
Now, back to You're Welcome with Chael Sonnen.
You know, the DC Lesnar drama or saga, it's just not that straightforward. I'd love to tell you guys that DC's going to fight Brock Lesnar. But much like you, I'm only as good as the information that I'm given. And a lot of it you have to read between the lines. So here's where we're at. Let's back up. Brock Lesnar is going to come to DC versus Stipe. He's going to sit in the front row, and he's going to take on the winner. At that time, even if you go look at the odds, that was supposed to be Stipe. So at any rate, Brock's there. Fight ends. Daniel wins. Brock goes from the front row to the octagon. Next thing you know, he's shoving DC halfway across the ring. He cutting a promo, burning down the entire house of the heavyweight division. It was great. It was great theater. It was a great piece of entertainment. Everybody wanted to see the fight. We had a whole bunch of questions surrounding Brock Lesnar. He was out on a suspension. He did not complete that suspension. He retired and stepped outside of the USADA testing pool, which is all well and good as long as he doesn't come back. Well, now he's back. So how are we going to deal with that? He's got to re-enter the pool, but he also has to serve a suspension. Can he do those two things concurrently? So all of these answers start to come about. We get a final resolution that Brock Lesnar will be eligible to compete in January of 2019, which at that time was a long time away. That was a pretty significant break. But okay, great. The rules are the rules, and at least now we have the answers and we can move forward with it. It then looked as though Brock Lesnar was taking a lighter schedule within the WWE. That was quite easily explained because he was now training and focusing on mixed martial arts and his return, and frankly, a world championship fight for nothing else. So all of these things were believed because they all happen to make sense. Now we have been thrown an interesting piece of information, which is in the WWE, because Roman Reigns has stepped aside for a very real-life battle with leukemia. Brock Lesnar has stepped in and signed a new contract to help do a little bit more of the heavy lifting to make up for Roman. This is the report from a publicly traded company. So this is accurate information. However, does one do away with the other? Does the fact that Brock is going to have to do more WWE and more traveling and have a new contract mean that he cannot compete in the UFC? I don't think so. I don't really give a damn how much traveling and on-TV appearances Brock Lesnar is going to do between now and his world title fight with Daniel Cormier. However much that is, and that is a tough life of the road, a lot of traveling for sure, but however much that is, however many airplanes he has to get on and times in front of camera he has to do and hotels he has to check into, it will not be as many times as Daniel Cormier does. Daniel Cormier has a weekly television show. Daniel Cormier is a ringside announcer. Daniel Cormier has a very heavy media schedule of which he is willing to meet those obligations. I'm just saying, if you want to look at that and say, okay, Brock is now going to be on Monday Night Raw more than he was supposed to be, I guess the fight with DC is off. One does not equal the other in my estimation. On the other side of this speculative coin, and that's all we're doing is speculating, but I have not seen the fire burning brighter for Lesnar versus DC. Anytime in this sport there's smoke, there's fire. Nobody can keep a secret. Absolutely nobody in this business can keep their mouth shut. You could telephone, telegraph, or tell a fighter. Either way, the word's going to get out. But the other side of that coin is also true. Whenever something appears to be cooling off, appears to be smoldering a little bit, that's also accurate. So I don't really know how to read this particular one. If DC was supposed to fight Brock Lesnar, and if they had that information ahead of time, as was reported to us, and Brock was going to be through the USADA pool and everything was cool and gang by January, it seems to me as though by now an official fight date would have been set, and it hasn't been. The other side of that is Daniel Cormier making it very clear that he would like to fight Brock Lesnar, but Daniel also making it very clear, I don't know if I'm fighting Brock Lesnar next. There has been a piece of that. Now, at one point, you could accept that answer because January of 2019 was just so incredibly far away. Hey, guys, next year is here next month. I mean, it's just not that far away. 2019, it's just not that far away. We're already seeing matches deeper into the year being announced. Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum comes to mind. Do they want to do this fight in April? Do they want to do it in May? I don't know about that. It would seem as though you'd want to do it as soon as you could. And I think that you guys might lose sight. Well, Chael, why do you say that? April's not all that far away. Yeah, I understand that. But when this deal was made 7 and 8 months ago, in the aftermath of Stipe versus Cormier, it did seem like a very long time. And if you're a guy like Brock Lesnar who's going, look, it's a one-off. I want the highest possible prize. I want to take the biggest possible risk. In exchange, have the biggest paycheck. All of those things, very above board, very in your face. Here's what it is. That isn't the kind of thing that you want to just keep putting off. If he's got to change his life and change his schedule and bring in his team and bring in his partners and stay put out there in Minnesota or North Dakota, or it's not the kind of thing that you want to just keep putting off, that you want to keep on punting, keep on kicking down the road. So I don't have an answer on it, but neither do you guys and neither does anybody else, including Daniel Cormier. It has been a bit speculative and it has been a bit up in the air. And I just don't know where that's all going to go, but I would expect that if it's going to go, if all roads are leading to Daniel Cormier versus Brock Lesnar, then getting an answer on that sooner rather than later would make some sense. I also think that it would be very interesting, if we were to just think for just a second, and it's been terribly unfair the way that Stipe Miocic has been treated. It's a very rough business, and it's very cutthroat, and it's very to the point, and that's just the way that it is. But if we can say all of those things, then we also need to tell the reality that it's been very unfair the way Stipe Miocic has been treated. It's very hard to imagine a road back to the championship for Stipe that goes through Daniel Cormier. And the reason I say that is because of the timing issue and because I do believe, while things can change, I do believe the sincerity when Daniel Cormier says, I'm only going to do one more. So, if in fact he has Brock Lesnar, that just simply leaves Stipe out. That doesn't leave Stipe out of championship opportunities and even the championship. It just leaves him out of a championship through a road that goes through Daniel Cormier. I'm okay with that part of it. The reason I bring that up and offer you guys that piece of the backstory, let's just have some fun here and let's just say that Brock is out. Let's just say, okay, Jones is not in. So before anybody, just go to John Jones. John Jones already has a fight, and it's actually a very big fight. And it's actually a very anticipated fight. It's actually a very meaningful fight because it happens to be for a world championship. It's just down at 205 pounds. So what do you do with Daniel Cormier? Who's next for Daniel? And I'm sure there's a fun and wonderful answer there. But in the absence of Brock, and if Daniel does want to fight somewhat promptly, and it isn't going to be at 205 pounds, then all of a sudden you do start to have a little bit more of a dialogue for doing the rematch between Stipe and Cormier. And I know there isn't a fire lit under that yet. And I don't know that that's the direction that it's going to go. But I do think that that is a resolution that needs to come full circle in a timely manner. Daniel Cormier has said not only does he have one fight left, that isn't the only side of it. He also said he wants to have that done by his 40th birthday, which I cannot recall when it is. I have it in my phone, Daniel. If you're listening, I have your birthday written, but I believe it's in March. And that was the other piece of this, is he said, I want to get these done, and I want to get them done by my birthday, which I think is in March. Even if I'm wrong on that, you guys still understand my point that there is an actual expiration date, which I don't know that would give us enough time to have Jones versus Gustafsson, free Jones up and bump him up to heavyweight and do the fight. I would be very short on the idea that Daniel Cormier would drop back down to 205 pounds. I realize he said that he would. I would be very short on that, and I would encourage him not to. There was simply no need. Daniel Cormier does not need John Jones, and Daniel Cormier does not need the John Jones trilogy. He absolutely does not. And people that try to tell him he does is out of selfishness because they would like to see it. So I don't know what's going to happen with Brock Lesnar. I will not concede to you guys because he signed this new contract with the WWE that means he also cannot follow through with his UFC obligation and plans. I would also share for you guys that if he used that as an excuse, I will quickly counter that right now and right here by telling you no matter how much Brock is going to travel, it is not going to be as much as Daniel Cormier. And no matter how many interviews or spots or time on television that he's going to do and how many different hotels he's going to have to check into and how much time he'll have to be away from his family between now and the potential World Championship fight, it will still be less than Daniel Cormier. So we're not going to use that excuse. And if there's one thing that we must say about Brock Lesnar, and you can put him down and insult him all that you want, and I'm sure there's a lot of compliments in there too, but one compliment that you must always give that man, he is not a coward. If Brock Lesnar says he's going to fight somebody, for better or worse, good decision, up, down, or sideways, that victory goes. If Brock Lesnar says he's going to fight a man, he fights the man. For some reason, there has been a delay on establishing the date. I do not offer to you guys an opinion as to why that is as much as just an observerance by me. Is that a word, Nick? Observerance? Observerance? It doesn't sound right. Observation? Observance. What did I do? I added a B. Observerance. Observance. It's an observance. I don't know. I don't actually know. Which one is it? Observation? Guys, don't fumble my words when I'm talking. Here's the point. We got to get to the bottom of it. There has to be some type of finite date and resolution. There just does. Or we got to get on with it, which is okay for us as fans, too. We're used to that. But if we're going to do that, let's show some level of sportsmanship and immediately bring back two words, Stipe Miocic. Here's some useful tips for your car maybe you didn't know about. A coffee filter and a little bit of olive oil will clean the interior. Removing excess weight from your vehicle will improve your gas mileage, and putting your floor mats under the tires in the winter can help you get your car out of the snow. Well, let me tell you one more tip maybe you don't know. TrueCar also helps people to buy used cars. That's right. TrueCar isn't just for buying new cars. With their certified dealer network and nationwide inventory of nearly 1 million used cars, you'll enjoy real pricing on actual inventory and a simpler buying experience whether you buy new or used. And with TrueCar, users can see what others paid so they know if they're getting a good deal before buying. They're also more likely to enjoy a faster buying experience by connecting with TrueCar certified dealers. So when you're ready to buy, new or used, check out TrueCar and enjoy a more confident car buying experience. Some features not available in all states. All right, guys, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the fights. Make some good decisions, have some fun, and whatever happens between now and next Wednesday, make sure you're back, and we will recap it all together. Until then, I'm Chael Sonnen, and you are welcome.
Thanks for listening to You're Welcome with Chael Sonnen. Download new episodes every week at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com.
Hey, this is Jordan Harbinger. I used to host the Art of Charm podcast, but now it's time for something new. The Jordan Harbinger Show. Did you know you can be entertained and actually get a boost in your life at the same time? On this show, we dig into the superpowers of the world's most interesting thinkers and top talents. Then we deliver them to you right into your ears. But I get it. We're not all superheroes. That's why we give you their blueprint so you can live what you listen. After 1,000 interviews, learning 5 languages, and getting arrested in a country that doesn't even exist anymore, I'm now more ready than ever to introduce you to The Jordan Harbinger Show. Listen free to The Jordan Harbinger Show. Available on Apple Podcasts, podcastone.com, and the Podcast One app.
Geico presents eyewitness interviews with inanimate objects.
This is Belinda Collins, live on the scene of a recent hailstorm. Here to describe the event, a football.
Bro, I was just hanging on the roof when this gnarly storm starts dropping baseball-sized hail. I mean, the shingles got beat up. A few windows looked broken. It was savage.
Did you do anything to help?
Nah, bro. I was in survival mode.
Your football can't help you in a hailstorm, but the Geico Insurance Agency can help you get covered for personal property damage. Call Geico to see how affordable homeowners insurance can be.
12 killed in bar massacre. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. A survivor of last night's shooting in a Thousand Oaks, California bar relived a terrifying scene. He was also in Las Vegas when a gunman opened fire on a country music crowd, killing 58. Brendan Kelly made it out of the back of the bar last night. 12 others died before the shooter, Ian David Long, a former Marine who served in Afghanistan, apparently killed himself. California Governor-elect Gavin Newsom.
This can't be normalized. This is just remarkable, just another day in America, but tragically now in our state.
Hundreds of homes and other buildings have been destroyed by a fast-moving wildfire that hit Paradise in Northern California. Christopher Crippen tells KGO he and his neighbors had to flee for their lives.
It was panicky, horrifying. The sky was black, and there was fire right behind our house.
I'm Tim McGuire.